You were taught that being a good employee means being available, dependable, quiet, useful, and willing to carry more than your share. You learned to answer late messages, accept extra work, skip rest, hide exhaustion, and call it responsibility. And for a while, it feels noble, it feels like proof that you're serious, loyal, and strong. But slowly, something changes. Your work starts taking more than your time. It takes your attention, your patience, your health, your presence, and the version of you that still had energy for life outside the job. This is the quiet mistake many people make. They do not realize they are not building respect. They are building a life where everyone benefits from their sacrifice except them. The good employee trap usually does not begin with pressure from the outside. It begins with an identity you accept on the inside. You become the person who says yes, the person who stays late, the person who never complains, the person everyone can count on. At first it feels like strength. You feel useful, you feel trusted, you feel like your value is obvious because your sacrifice is visible. But the problem is that people quickly adapt to what you always give. What once looked like extra effort becomes the normal expectation. Your late nights stop being impressive. Your availability stops being appreciated. Your silence becomes convenient. And slowly, the company does not see a person giving more. It sees a system that can be used without resistance. The first shift is simple, but uncomfortable. You have to separate professionalism from self-destruction. Doing your job well is not the same as giving your entire life to the job. Being reliable does not mean being endlessly available. You can be responsible without becoming replaceable fuel for someone else's goals. There's a point where overworking stops being something you do and becomes who you believe you are. You start feeling proud of being tired. You use exhaustion as proof that you matter. You tell yourself that rest is for people who are less serious, and without noticing it, your identity becomes attached to how much discomfort you can tolerate. This shows up in small daily choices. You skip meals because there's too much to finish. You check messages during family time. You feel guilty when you're not productive. You cancel personal plans because work needs you again. Then one day, the people closest to you stop expecting your full presence because they have learned that your job usually wins. Slow down here. The real danger is not hard work. The real danger is needing sacrifice to feel valuable. When your worth depends on being overused, boundaries feel like failure. But they are not failure. They are the beginning of self-respect. You are allowed to work with excellence without disappearing into the work. Most people think their workplace will automatically know when they are carrying too much. They imagine that if they work hard enough, someone will notice the pressure and protect them. But organizations often respond to what is visible. If you keep saying yes, keep delivering, and keep hiding the cost, the system assumes the load is acceptable. That is where the pattern repeats. You feel overwhelmed, but you still accept the next task. You feel ignored, but you still solve the next emergency. You feel exhausted, but you still answer the next late message. Then resentment builds, not only because they ask too much, but because a part of you knows you trained them to expect access to you. This is not about blaming yourself for everything. It is about taking back the part you can control. People learn your limits from the way you defend them. If you never protect your time will look available. If you never protect your energy will look unlimited. Boundaries are not speeches. They are repeated behavior. There is a hidden emotional reward in being the person everyone depends on. It gives you importance. It gives you a role. It makes you feel difficult to replace. So even when the pressure hurts, part of you may keep returning to it because being needed feels better than feeling ordinary. This is the quiet trap. You start accepting chaos because chaos gives you proof that you matter. You rescue projects at the last minute. You fix problems that should have been planned better. You become the emergency solution, the calm one, the strong one, the person who absorbs what others avoid. But every rescue teaches the system that your peace is negotiable. The reframe is sharp but necessary. Being needed is not the same as being respected. Respect includes your limits. Respect includes your health. Respect includes your life outside the office. If a role only values you when you're overextended, then it is not honoring your strength. It is consuming it. The most painful part of overworking is not always what happens at work. It is what slowly disappears outside of work. You tell yourself this season is temporary. You tell yourself you will rest later, reconnect later, enjoy life later, take care of your body later. But later becomes the place where your real life keeps getting stored. Then the missed moments begin to accumulate. Dinners where your body is present but your mind is still working. Birthdays where you're distracted. Conversations you rush through. Weekends that feel like recovery rooms instead of living days. The job gets your best focus, and the people you love receive whatever is left. But this is where awareness starts becoming responsibility. You cannot keep treating your life like a reward you will claim after enough sacrifice. Your health is not a future project. Your relationships are not background tasks. Your peace is not a luxury item. The life you keep postponing is still the only life you actually have. The cost of overworking is difficult to notice because it does not arrive all at once. It does not always look like a breakdown. Sometimes it looks like waking up tired every day. It looks like irritation becoming your normal tone. It looks like losing interest in the things that used to make you feel alive. The damage becomes familiar, so you stop calling it damage. You start measuring success by completed tasks, but not by what those tasks are taking from you. You count deadlines, meetings, money, praise, and promotions. But you do not count the poor sleep, the tense body, the short patience, the distance in your relationships, or the way your mind never fully comes home after work. This is where clarity becomes uncomfortable. A paycheck can compensate your labor, but it cannot replace your health. A promotion can change your title, but it cannot return the years you lived absent from yourself. If the reward requires you to slowly lose your life, then the reward is not as clean as it looks. One of the clearest signs that work has taken too much control is when rest feels wrong. You sit down, but your mind starts accusing you. You try to relax, but a quiet pressure tells you that you should be doing more. You are not resting anymore. You are negotiating with guilt while your body begs for permission to recover. This guilt follows you everywhere. You check emails during quiet moments. You feel anxious when your phone is not near you. You turn free time into planning time. Even when nobody is asking for anything, your mind creates an invisible manager inside you. The office leaves, but the pressure stays. But here's the part people usually miss. Rest is not the opposite of responsibility. Rest is what keeps responsibility from becoming resentment. A person who never recovers does not become stronger. He becomes easier to irritate, easier to break, and easier to control. Rest is not weakness. It is maintenance for your future self. Praise can become dangerous when it rewards the version of you that is falling apart. Someone says you are dependable, and you ignore your exhaustion. Someone says they do not know what they would do without you, and you accept another burden. Someone calls you committed, and you mistake being overused for being valued. This is how people stay trapped for years. They are not only chasing money, they are chasing approval. They want to be seen as serious, loyal, useful, and strong, so they keep performing the identity that gets praised, even when that identity is quietly costing them peace, health, and emotional presence. The shift is to stop letting praise decide what is healthy. Not every compliment is good for you. Some praise is just a polite way of saying you are easy to depend on without limits. Learn to receive appreciation without becoming owned by it. You can be excellent without letting approval become a leash. The hardest truth about work is not that companies are evil. It is that companies are designed to continue. The system has to move when someone leaves, gets sick, burns out, quits, or dies. That reality is not personal, but it becomes painful when you built your identity on the belief that your sacrifice made you irreplaceable. The meeting still happens. The emails still get answered. The projects get reassigned. Your chair becomes someone else's chair. Your tasks become someone else's calendar. And the same place that once acted like it could not survive without you eventually proves that it can. That is not betrayal. That is the machine doing what machines do. This truth should not make you bitter. It should make you wiser. If the system can continue without you, then you do not need to destroy yourself to keep it alive. Do good work. Be professional. Keep your standards. But never confuse business continuity with personal worth. Your life must mean more than your usefulness. Self-betrayal does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like saying yes when every part of you knows the answer should be no. It looks like smiling while you feel used. It looks like accepting pressure because you're afraid of disappointing people who benefit from your silence. Over time, these small betrayals change how you see yourself. You stop trusting your own limits. You stop believing your discomfort matters. You become skilled at abandoning yourself in professional language. You call it teamwork. You call it commitment. You call it being mature. But inside, something knows the truth. This is where the real change begins. You do not rebuild yourself through one dramatic decision. You rebuild yourself every time you tell the truth sooner, protect your energy earlier, and stop pretending that exhaustion is a badge of honor. Self-respect returns when your actions finally stop arguing against your needs. Saying no feels difficult when your value has been built around being agreeable. You may feel the need to explain, justify, apologize, or soften your boundary until it barely sounds like a boundary anymore. Deep down, you are not only refusing a task, you are confronting the fear that people will respect you less when you stop being endlessly available. This fear makes people accept more than they can carry. They say yes to late requests, weekend interruptions, extra responsibilities, and emotional pressure disguised as urgency. Then they wonder why they feel invisible. But the truth is uncomfortable. When you always make yourself available, people may not see your generosity. They may simply see access. The next shift is simple, but not easy. Stop treating every no like a courtroom defense. A clear boundary does not need a long emotional explanation. You can be respectful, calm, and firm at the same time. Your worth does not need to be proven every time you protect your time. Many people confuse discipline with being constantly accessible. They think a disciplined person always responds, always pushes, always delivers, always takes on more. But that is not discipline. That is often fear wearing professional clothing. Real discipline is not the inability to stop. Real discipline is knowing what deserves your energy and what does not. Without that distinction, you become busy but not focused. You react to every message, every request, every small emergency, and every demand for attention. Your day becomes a collection of other people's priorities. You may look productive from the outside, but inside you feel scattered, resentful, and strangely disconnected from your own direction. This is not discipline. This is leakage. Discipline means choosing your standards before pressure chooses them for you. It means doing excellent work without surrendering your entire mind to the workplace. It means protecting the energy that allows you to think clearly, act wisely, and remain whole after the workday ends. A boundary is not only about what you refuse today, it is about the person you are protecting tomorrow. When you say no to unnecessary pressure, you are also saying yes to your health, your patience, your family, your focus, and your ability to keep showing up without bitterness. Boundaries are not walls against work. They are protection against slow collapse. But most people wait until they are already exhausted before they create them. They wait until resentment becomes obvious. They wait until their body starts warning them. They wait until their relationships feel distant. Then the boundary comes out harsh, late, and full of anger, because it should have been placed calmly months ago. The mature path is to protect your limits before you are forced to defend your survival. You do not need to hate your job to create structure around it. You do not need to be mistreated before you choose balance. A boundary placed early is not conflict, it is maintenance. When work becomes your entire identity, silence can feel threatening. A free evening can feel empty. A slow weekend can feel useless. You may not know what to do with yourself when nobody needs you because your sense of importance has been tied to performance for too long. This is where many people discover they have been successful and disconnected at the same time. You may have titles, responsibilities, and achievements, but very little inner space. You may know how to solve problems at work, but not how to sit peacefully with yourself. You may be respected professionally while feeling unknown personally. That gap becomes heavier with time, because the world sees your output while your inner life remains neglected. Rebuilding begins when you stop asking your job to carry your entire sense of meaning. You need relationships, health, interests, quiet time, personal standards, and goals that do not depend on a company's approval. Work can be part of your life without becoming the only place where you feel real. Your body keeps records even when your calendar moves on. It remembers the sleep you ignored, the stress you normalized, the meals you skipped, the tension you carried, and the exhaustion you explained away. You can convince your mind that everything is fine for a while, but your body eventually becomes honest for you. This is where the pattern becomes serious. You start needing caffeine to feel normal. You lose patience faster. Your mind feels foggy. Your back, chest, head, or stomach starts speaking through discomfort. And still, many people continue because they believe stopping would make them weak. But ignoring the warning signs is not strength. It is delayed consequences. your health is not a professional inconvenience. It is the foundation that allows you to live, work, love, think, lead, and recover. No company can give you a second body. No title can replace your nervous system. No praise is worth becoming a stranger to your own well-being. Calm strength does not come from proving that you can endure everything. It comes from knowing what you no longer need to carry. Many people think strength means absorbing pressure without reaction, but that can become another form of self-abandonment. Real strength has structure. It knows when to serve, when to stop, and when to protect what matters. Without limits, your strength becomes available to everyone except you. You become useful in every crisis, but tired in your own life. You solve problems for the team, then bring impatience home. You appear composed in meetings, then feel empty in private. This is the contradiction many hardworking people live inside. The stronger version of you is not the one who accepts every burden. It is the one who can stay calm while choosing clearly. You do not need to become cold. You need to become precise. A life without limits does not prove commitment. It proves that your peace has no protection. Work often makes everything feel urgent. A message arrives, and your body reacts. A deadline moves, and your nervous system tightens. Someone says they need it now, and suddenly your entire day belongs to their panic. But not every urgent thing is important, and not every important thing deserves immediate access to your life. When urgency controls you, you stop thinking and start reacting. Your attention breaks into pieces. Your priorities become unstable. Your plans disappear under other people's pressure. You finish the day tired, but not always fulfilled, because most of your energy went into responding instead of directing. This is where inner order begins. Pause before you obey urgency. Ask what truly matters. What can wait? What requires your attention? And what is simply noise wearing a serious face? You thought speed made you valuable, but sometimes speed only makes you easier to interrupt. One of the quietest tragedies of overworking is that the people who love you often receive the least alive version of you. The workplace gets your focus, your patience, your discipline, your problem solving, and your best hours. Then home receives the tired body, the distracted mind, the short answers, and the silence of someone who has already spent himself. This does not always happen because you do not care. Often it happens because you care deeply and believe work is how you provide. But provision without presence creates a painful gap. The people closest to you may appreciate your effort, but they also need your attention, your warmth, your laughter, your listening, and your real presence. The reframe is simple. Do not give your entire life to a place that can replace you, then offer fragments to the people who cannot. Protecting your energy is not selfish when it allows you to love better. Your family, your relationships, and your private life should not survive on what your job did not consume. There is a healthier way to work, but it requires a different relationship with ambition. You can care deeply about your work without worshiping it. You can be excellent without being consumed. You can be serious without being enslaved. The goal is not to become careless. The goal is to stop confusing professional commitment with personal disappearance. When work becomes something you worship, every problem feels like a threat to your identity. Every mistake feels personal. Every criticism wounds you deeply. Every delay feels unbearable. You are no longer simply doing a job. You're using the job to prove that you deserve respect, security, and meaning. But excellence becomes cleaner when it is not driven by fear. Do the work well, keep your standards high. Be dependable, be honest. Improve your craft, but do not place your soul on the desk every morning and hope the system treats it gently. Work deserves effort. Your life deserves ownership. At first, realizing you are replaceable can feel painful. It can feel like your effort meant less than you thought. But there is another side to that truth. If the company can continue without you, then you are free to stop carrying it like your existence depends on it. Being replaceable is not only a warning, it is also permission. It means you can take the vacation, you can close the laptop, you can say no, you can rest without imagining the whole world will collapse. You can build a life that is not held hostage by the fear of being less useful. The machine will move on. That sounds cold, but it can also set you free. This is where quiet confidence appears, not from becoming untouchable, but from becoming whole. You no longer need to destroy yourself to prove that you matter. You no longer need constant approval to feel valuable. You can work, contribute, grow, and still remember that your life is bigger than your role. The mistake was never wanting to do good work. The mistake was believing that being a good employee required you to abandon yourself. You can be responsible without being consumed. You can be loyal without being blind. You can be ambitious without sacrificing your health, your relationships, and your peace. The real shift is not about rejecting work. It is about putting work back in its proper place. Your job may use your skills, your time, and your attention, but it should never own your identity. Do the work with excellence, but do not confuse excellence with self-destruction. Protect your body, protect your family, protect your inner life, because one day the emails will continue, the meetings will continue, and someone else may sit in your chair. But the life you gave away to prove your value will not come back. If this message helped you see yourself more clearly, subscribe for more calm, practical reflections on self-respect, discipline, and personal growth.